are listening to the Loving Your Own Soul podcast, and I'm your host, Britt Olson. Guided by my own intuition, my intention is to deliver genuine conversations centered around health and wellness, spirituality, self-expression, and culture. In this space, I will provide you with real-life stories, theories, and inspiring perspectives to help you uncover and tap into your own true potential. I'm so grateful you've chosen to tune in with me on this mindful exploration to living a more fluid life through a deeper connection to the soul. Now let's dive into today's journey. I'm Britt Olson, your podcast host and holistic wellness coach, here for the purpose of guiding you to tap into your true potential. And this episode is really all about your true potential and your soul's purpose here in this lifetime. It is such a fun episode with one of my new just favorite beings here on planet Earth. But before we jump into all of that and I introduce you to today's fabulous guest, I actually thought it would be fun for me to pull an oracle card for this episode for the time that we are in. We are so magical, and there is just so much beauty in our energy as a collective, as we are truly one. Now, as I went to pull a card, I actually had two that jumped out at me, so I'm going to read both of these to you. I have no doubt that both, if not one of these, will certainly resonate with you and some of the messaging that you needed to hear. So I pulled a card from the most amazing oracle deck. It is the Beyond Lumeria oracle deck that I have been working with these past few weeks. And wow, I don't even really have the words for this deck, but it is truly incredible. The artwork on here is absolutely amazing. And if you have never taken a plant medicine journey or had extreme visualizations in your meditations or soul traveled or anything like that before, the artwork of this deck will certainly maybe inspire you to do so or pull out some creativity that maybe you've been blocked from. It is so beautiful. I'm also going to post these cards on my Instagram at Loving Your Own Soul. So if you're listening, you can see them because they are so beautiful. Anyway, so I had the two cards that fell out of the Beyond Lumeria deck, and one of them, the first message for you, the card is Reclaim Your Energy. This card encourages you to be aware of where your energy is going. If you are not at your optimal energy level, it invites you to consider the core of why this may be. You have the power to own your energy and choose where you direct it. Look at situations that trigger drama and anxiety to reduce energy loss. Detach from environments or people that are not healthy for you. It is up to you to make the shift. Victim mentality is no help, so realize you have the power to transform your life and choose healing and self-empowerment. It's time to kickstart the upward spiral to abundant energy and soul presence. Oh my gosh. And I just realized in the guidebook, this card's description is on page 111. So if 111 or the number 1 or any of your angel numbers, there you go. You're being guided. I love that. My dog, Mocha, is also here with me, so if you hear her in the background, I apologize for that, but know that there's some animal love. Oh my gosh, and as I'm saying this is so funny that I'm saying that because the second card that fell out of the deck is the Furred and Feathered Friends card. Wow, which is so cute. Okay, so this second card's meaning says, look at how you choose to nourish your physical body and your ethics and reasoning surrounding your food choices. Where possible, explore fortifying, filling, and nourishing alternatives. Your body and energy will thank you for it. This card also signifies strong animal energies that could mean working more closely with an animal spirit guide or bringing a four-legged companion into your life. You may have a greater awareness of the wisdom of the animals that you encounter and what their traits or messages mean to you. So sweet. I love those two cards. So anyway, I hope those resonated with you. If not now, maybe just something to think about in the later. But today's episode, so I'm so excited to have held space with Natalie Holbrook and bring Natalie Holbrook to all of you. She is such an incredible soul, such a light, that is for sure. She is a board certified holistic nutritionist and astrologer. And Natalie really fuses the trilogy of science, the stars, and spirituality tying together her passion for the powerful language of the cosmos and healing properties of the earth to really just create her own ability and way of evolving and transforming the life of her clients, herself, and truly just the world around her. She's so incredible, and I actually love that I'm recording this intro the day after her February Cosmic Earth Collective event for Aquarius season. The Cosmic Earth Collective I've been attending virtually is how do you even describe this event? It's a monthly event. It really connects the participants through the guidance of Natalie and any additional co-host to come on to assist her. Just is really a way to connect to the magic of astrology and meditation and plant spirits and manifestations, and just create such a beautiful, like-minded community of beings. It is so incredible. Like I said, I've been joining virtually as Natalie is located out in California. And last night was the Aquarius season Cosmic Earth Collective. And Natalie just put together such a beautiful meditation. We traveled with the plant spirit of mint, and wow, did she take you places. I mean, yeah, it was so incredible. I don't even know if I have the words for it, but she takes you places. It's incredible. The next one is coming up on March 3rd. Highly recommend for Pisces season. And I'm just going to leave it at that. So in today's episode, Natalie and I really talk all about her own journey, the benefits behind her work, the energies she communes with. And before we recorded, we actually spent such a wonderful afternoon, kind of like a little soulfully inspired virtual vortex together, where Natalie did a soul purpose astrology natal chart reading on me, and her reading just provided so much clarity and confirmation to where I am going, my unique gifts and my talents, and all the little nuances or dreams and desires inside of me that are truly me, truly mine, and for me in this lifetime. It could not have happened at a better time as well. And I just beaming from that experience with her and have such a just maybe more confident direction in why I'm doing what I'm doing and where I'm going. So I highly recommend that. But then what is unique to Natalie's work is she also works with a practice called Psych-K, which she will explain in the episode. But we did a little Psych-K session together, and I was explaining how I was having a little bit of trouble being present. I was feeling like I was kind of connected to my phone and emails, and even whenever I would take those quiet mornings to myself, they weren't completely quiet in my mind because I still had this like anxiousness of, oh gosh, what if somebody needs me? I think a lot of us can probably relate to that. And which actually, the episode before this one that launched last week, we talk about with a breathwork facilitator how hard it really is for all of us to slow down and be present. So in our afternoon together, Natalie did a Psych-K session on me to kind of help me connect to the present moment, release what was not serving me. And wow, in this episode, we're going to talk about Psych-K, so I will let you all listen to Natalie's description of it. However, all I can say is the session was quick, so impactful, completely life-changing, and the difference is insane in how I feel. I mean, truly just back in control, back in the present moment. I feel more like myself than I have in a few months, and it's amazing. As you can tell, I'm obsessed with Natalie and her work and really just the uniqueness that she brings to the table. I love everyone. I love everything that everyone's doing, but I truly appreciate those who put their own authentic spin on it and aren't scared to really dive into who they are and bring their magic out into the world. And Natalie is definitely sharing her magic with the world, and it is just so impressive. And I know you guys are going to love her. You'll definitely want to work with her, or in the least, come join her Cosmic Earth Collective. The next one is happening on March 3rd. And without further ado, thank you to all of you for tuning in, and let's get on to today's episode with Natalie Holbrook. Well, Natalie, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited to have you on here. We just kind of spent the last little bit of the afternoon together doing astrology and Psych-K, and I can't wait to introduce you to the listeners and chat a little bit about what we did.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So you're joining us from California, and you were just in Sedona recently, I think the later part of 2020. How was that trip for you, and kind of how are you doing right now?
Sedona was amazing. I love Sedona. I'm like, I want to go there all the time. It's such
Yeah.
vibrant, incredible energy. I had just gone through a breakup, and that's what kind of got me there because I really wanted to do something for the winter solstice. And one of my good friends, Roxy, who's an amazing retreat facilitator, was hosting this. And I literally woke up in the middle of the night at 5:55 in the morning, and saw it on Instagram. I was, not something I liked to do, but I had my phone by me at 5:55 in the morning and was like, let me just look at Instagram, and saw that she was doing this. And it was such an amazing retreat. There is so much magic in Sedona. I swear there's energy forces from everywhere else. I saw UFOs there. It's the most amazing skies and stars. And they have a really cool labyrinth there. And I went there to really heal my heart after this breakup. And I did within 2 days. And it kind of unfolded all of these other promptings to me that were deeper than this heartbreak. It was well, what else is underneath all of this that I can really dive into and heal?
Wow. So powerful. I have yet to actually go to Sedona, but Sedona has been calling to me so strongly in the last year. So it'll definitely happen soon. So fun. Well, I love your work, and we connected originally, I think, through your Cosmic Earth collectives that you do, which I would love to just kind of, tell the listeners a little bit about that, because I think the community that you create on there is just so powerful. But before we jump into all that in your work, kind of, what brought you to where you sit today with your work with astrology and wellness, and you just really create such magic for individuals. So I love it.
Oh, thank you. Creating magic is kind of if I had a slogan, that's what I would want it to be. So I'm glad you nailed it. Yeah, I'd say over the last, I don't even know how long it's been, the last 8 years, I was led down this path of learning about healing because I got sick. Like I mentioned to you earlier, I used to live in Vegas and I worked as a nightlife and music journalist, and I was living a very fast-paced, glamorous lifestyle, or glamorous air quotes, right?
Yep.
And I got really sick with a lot of just GI issues, and all of that really forced me to have a big wake-up call of what am I doing with my life? I was only 25, but I was drinking all of the time and I wasn't really tapped in, and I was just kind of living in a way that I thought was cool, right? And kind of living in this sense of titles and egos, and really in that world and in a lot of hustle mode, not taking care of myself whatsoever. And so that was this big shakeup where it was hey, you need to learn how to eat and how to cook. And, maybe coffee's not great for you, and maybe alcohol is not great for you, and maybe smoking cigarettes isn't great for you, all of these things. And it really brought me to my knees. And so I went back home. I moved home to my parents who live in the Bay Area, and went to acupuncture and changed my diet and just kind of revamped my whole lifestyle and really went inwards. And it opened me up. It was through changing my diet and through nutrition that fully opened me up to spirituality, because suddenly it was I could see clearly. I could see, and I had all of this revitalized energy through drinking, it sounds so cliche, but truly through drinking green juice and through, having Kimberly Snyder's, what does she call it? The glowing green smoothie.
Yeah.
And that was kind of my first step into all of this. And it was at that point that I was okay, I know now that I'm supposed to be on this path of wellness and really helping other people to heal in the way that I was healed. And so I really went into an obsession with it. And then I took little breaks here and there. I went and traveled the world for a while, for a year and a half. And then I even worked in tech in San Francisco for a while, but I always had in the back of my head, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And finally, it was in 2016, I had read actually You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero.
Love that book.
Love that book, right? She's so funny. And I had this big awakening where it was why aren't I doing this yet? It also, that was my Saturn return. I had turned 30 that year. And I was okay, I need, yes, I'm making a great paycheck and I'm living this interesting life in San Francisco, but was I really fulfilled? Was I really happy? Not at all. And so I started working with a career coach, and it just kind of all started unveiling after that. And then, I went back to school. I got certified as a holistic nutritionist. And it really wasn't until about a year and a half ago that astrology started coming in really, really strong for me. And it was because I was living in LA. I was actually doing prereqs for a master's and working already as a holistic nutritionist. But I was feeling really lonely. Like there were just parts of me that I was like, something feels off here. And I think that it was because I was in LA and, you know, a lot of my friends were kind of like climbing a different ladder or in different parts of their lives. And in LA too is so spread out that you might have a million friends, but they might live 2 hours away from you and it's still considered Los Angeles. You know? So I was kind of really seeking and yearning for something just deeper to kind of satisfy my soul. And I remember that I had heard a podcast with an astrologer talking about how, you know, we have so many different planets and how because of where those planets are, that they really are going to make a difference in who you are and why you feel the way that you do. And I ran home and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to learn astrology right away. And I learned it very quickly. I went and got a teacher, and within 3 months, it kind of like downloaded into me.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that's now a huge part of what I do. And a huge, you know, piece of kind of my business and my work is that astrology because of all of that. So
That
that's a
is so
long-winded answer to your question.
No, that's amazing. I resonate so much with your journey. I feel like I'm having your journey 4 years later, or it started January 2020. So always ongoing now. I'd love to just, you know, it's so interesting the world that we live in. Like I truly believe that our souls reincarnated here at the specific time with technology in the world of social media and podcasts just to get those seeds planted to really help redirect us and get us into the purpose of why we are here. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I absolutely love that. So you bring such like an authentic style, I'll call it, to your astrology readings. And I love just kind of the angle that you take. But as I've seen you as well with the Cosmic Earth Collective, and I know working with plants and herbs and the cosmos is everything, just kind of like a big piece of it all together. So I would love to understand maybe just that journey or kind of that calling to really piecing it all together and how that happened for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that, you know, it started because once I became a nutritionist, I realized that food really is everything, right? It's like that is that we're putting that into our body, and that is what is going to affect our full well-being. And then once I started learning the astrology and all of that kind of started hitting together, I was like, wow, it truly is so connected as the as above, so below. And we have this beautiful ability to be able to learn from the above, which is kind of like what's happening in our world. Why are things happening? Because it really does reflect from the planets what's going to be going on in our earth, you know? And of course, we have full will and free agency to make all of our own decisions. However, whatever is happening above us is going to set an underlying tone. So there is going to be some type of frequency and energy there, regardless of what, you know, choice we decide to make. And so I wanted to pull that in with the nutrition because it just gives you so much ability to see, okay, this is the season that we're in, or these are some big transits that are coming up. And then we can make better choices with whether it is like our food or with how we're traveling or, you know, what tinctures we're taking or whatever kind of thing that is, how we're reacting to things, and combine all of that with these elements of the very 3D world. And a huge part that kind of even really made me want to combine all of this together and to start Cosmic Earth Collective is that I was in an amazing herbalism program last year. And it was really this big combination of, you know, we were taking these herbs, we were learning all about the herbs, and the way that we would learn about them was through meeting the plant spirit of whatever that is. So let's say, for example, that we had mint, we would meet the spirit of mint. And so it's kind of like this cosmic spirit of, you know, the plant that we're also used to, whether it's in like an artificial flavoring that everyone knows, or whether it's the real deal. And so it was kind of through that journey that I was like, wow, this is so powerful that everything that's even in the earth is this true living being and even has a spirit. And so why not combine all of that together? Because it is this cosmic thing. Like nothing is not connected. Everything is fully connected.
So cool. And it's so true. Everything is so, so deeply connected. I love that you brought that up with the plant spirits, because one of my friends, we talk about that a lot of like, is, kind of, do you think like, do plants have souls? Is there like a spirit behind the plant? So it makes so much sense. So
Yeah,
cool.
sure.
Yeah. I think it's interesting too, just from like a physical standpoint with kind of clearing your body when it was bogged down before with alcohol and just different choices and things like that. And then, it sounds very cliche that like when, the green juices are really what set you on your path, but it is also so true at the same time, because I do believe that we do become a clearer channel through that. And why do you think there is any like reason behind that, or just simply kind of that mind body soul connection?
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, if you think about anything that you're putting into your body, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's, junk food or too much of a food, even if it's like a really, like you can't eat like 20 dates, right? Like anything that's going to make you feel sick. And you have to go deeper than that. Who are you having sex with? Like, who are you literally allowing inside of your body and inside of your mind and your field? What TV are you watching? What movies are you watching? Are you just like binge watching The Bachelor, which is like my guilty pleasure, but still every time I watch it, I'm like, this is so low vibe.
Totally.
Like, what are those things that you're allowing in, and even the people that you're allowing in? So you really have to look at that. And then once you can clear that, and it's not even always about like, I have to fully clear this from me, right? Like sometimes you just need to know yourself so well that those things don't even affect you anymore. And once you can get to a place where you're like, I'm so confident in what I am that I can sit and I can watch an episode of The Bachelor and it doesn't affect me, or that I can have a conversation with someone who might not understand me and might fully judge me, but it doesn't bother me anymore, then you know that you've kind of like developed that full authentic self. And it does help us when we're eating real living foods and being around people who see us for who we are. It's such a game changer in your life.
Such a game changer. It's so true. I used to get such a racing heart. I would always try to watch The Real Housewives, and like my heart would start racing. I would start sweating. I was like, how do people watch this show? Like, I can't do this. Oh, it's so funny.
Like bitchiness.
Totally. So from astrology, we just looked at my chart, and that was probably one of the most empowering and, I want to say, like soulful readings, but I feel like that's kind of cheesy because I know we're going to talk about like your soul's purpose and things in your reading. But I would love to help maybe the listeners just understand a little bit more from your end, just kind of the uniqueness of how you go about your astrology readings.
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's always like super intuitive to the person, because I think that with what you and I just did, we only did like 20 minutes or something. But it's kind of like you can pack a lot in there depending on just like feeling it, right? But what I really do is I really love to just focus on, first of all, like what does that person really want to talk about? What do they need? But most people are looking for guidance, right? And that's what astrology provides us with. And so there's three main things that I always really like to look at for your soul purpose. We look at the rising sign because that's what you're here to evolve and ascend. It's also called the ascendant. So you're really ascending into this or rising into this. And then there is Saturn. So, for anyone listening who's in their Saturn return, like Saturn return is not the worst thing in the whole world. It's really just going to force you to make really important decisions, whether that is, breaking up in a relationship or taking a new job or working harder than you've ever worked in your whole life, or, maybe you lose someone close to you in your life. Like it's something that's going to force you to grow. And it does that so that you can become the master of all of that. And so that you can eventually also become the teacher and become kind of like that wise person as well and help other people. So there's that Saturn aspect. And then the last is the North Node. And the North Node is really our destiny. It's like what we're stepping in here to learn these lessons of and to learn how to be more like this sign. And the South Node also corresponds with what's called the South Node. Wait, did I say the North Node? I think I did.
I thought you did.
Okay.
Yeah, you did say North Node.
Myself. So yeah. We're in a Mercury day today, by the way. But no, the North Node is what you're here stepping into. And whatever that sign is, so like for you, right, yours is Aquarius. And so whatever the South Node is, so that would be the opposite polar sign of that. So that would be Leo, are things that you're leaving behind. And the South Node is kind of like these gifts that we have from other lifetimes that we can pull and take with us into this new life, but we're really stepping into whatever the North Node is. So it's important to look at what sign is that in? And then also what house. There's 12 different houses in astrology, and each house represents a different area of your life. So we can see what is that house, because that's also going to teach you and tell you what your soul really wanted to learn and focus on and kind of have as a beautiful destiny point in this lifetime.
Cool. So fun. So just to give a little bit of a personal reference for maybe anybody who's not like completely comprehending right now, which is totally fine. It's a lot too. Just kind of understand. So my North Node is Aquarius, and I believe that is also in the 8th house.
Yes.
What type of maybe just kind of like characteristics might one find in there?
Yeah. So, well, Aquarius, first of all, is going to be someone that is very different. It's really about going to the beat of your own drum. It's about listening to yourself. It's about being eccentric and kind of quirky. Aquarius energy is very much of like, let's rally together and do something for the good of the people, the greater good. It's about being an individual and being someone that is independent within their own work and their own way of thinking. But it's also so innovative that it's like, I'm going to do this for what I'm offering for the world, but let's also get together as a collective and make the world a better place. So, and it's kind of cool because we're recording this on the second day of Aquarius. So we're in that Aquarius season, and we just had the inauguration 2 days ago, where it's a completely different and unique system than we've ever had before, right? It's like, I think Biden's the oldest president we've ever had. We have our first vice president Black woman. It's like all of these things where we're really turning the tables and making history. So that is Aquarius energy, is making history. And then you look at what house placement it's in, and the 8th house is about transformation, about death and rebirth. It's about sex. It's about going to the places that a lot of people might be afraid to go, but having no fear and saying, let's go there and let's explore and let's talk about these really deep topics and, be fearless and allow it to transform us into something more beautiful.
I love that so much. So this episode, I believe, when we're talking about Aquarius, will come out, I think it's the week of February 9th. I don't know if you know off the top of your head if there's any pertinent Aquarius energy, or just even later, kind of in the month of February as we move from, Aquarius to Pisces?
Yeah, well, it's going to be crazy because Saturn, which is the planet of hard work and discipline and restriction, it restricts us so that we can become better at it. It's kind of like if you get sick, you're restricted so that you have to take care of your body, right? So you get better at it. That is that Saturn energy. It's like it wants us to work harder and be, more mature. And so it's going to be going through Aquarius for the next 3 years. So that in itself is huge because we're all going to be in a time where it's like, we have to learn how are we all going to be coming together more as one, as a country and as as a world. Like everything, it's very international. But yeah, during this month of February, we have something that we haven't had since basically like the Dark Ages, which is that 7 of the planets will all be in Aquarius at the same time during the month of February. I don't have the exact dates in front of me, but they will all be there. So we will be in like Aquarius, like biggest party ever.
That's so cool. Yeah. So interesting. Are there any tips on your end in terms of maybe from like a wellness perspective, or is there any way, that as a collective, we can maybe individually hone in on this energy, or even because it is an air sign, maybe the need to like ground ourselves during this time?
Yeah, definite grounding. Grounding is going to be for sure needed because with any air sign, so if you look to your chart, you can go to my website also and get your chart, natalieholbrook.com. But you can get your chart there. And it's really important to just see what type of energy, what is the air signs in your chart ruling for you? And where do you have air? If your sun, moon, rising, or Jupiter, or maybe some other planets are in an air sign, then you have a lot of that air energy naturally. And the whole collective is going to be experiencing this for the whole month of February. So some really good grounding activities are just, first of all, make sure that you are, that you have a morning routine, kind of like what we were talking about before. It's just make sure that you're doing something that really does ground you down, whether it's just, stretching in the morning or journaling in the morning. Journaling, I definitely recommend because Aquarius and all of the air signs they represent our mindset and kind of our central nervous system. If you think about the air that's going through your body, it's like your ability to use your lungs at your full capacity, right? And so the downside of that is that if there's too much of it, it can be this very anxious and anxiety ridden energy. And so it's really important to be in nature, to be outside every single day, even if it just means taking a 15-minute walk is really good. And then I think just kind of dreaming bigger, that is the energy. And even if there's things that you feel like, oh my gosh, this would never happen, while you're journaling, or if you do like a nightly journal, or even visualization and manifesting, this is a beautiful time for visualizing and dreaming bigger of what type of world do I want to see? What type of life do I want to create for myself? And really ground yourself down on that, be very present with yourself in what is it that I want? How can I personally make the world a better place? And start coming up with those plans. It doesn't mean that you have to execute it now, but it is a beautiful time to at least just be grounded in what you know that you want, and to really also like slow down on the media, like stop with the scrolling, maybe turn the TV off, like maybe try not to watch the news so much, and just connect back to yourself, because Aquarius is about being authentic and about being you. And so it is a beautiful time to do that and do what makes you feel like it makes you come alive.
So cool. This is so funny. I feel like I'm going to give a relation of how sensitive we all are to just the planets, and we may not consciously be aware of what's taking place in the cosmos, but what's actually physically happening here. So I was just reflecting back in my head almost to the date, and I'm pretty sure it was of when did Aquarius start on Wednesday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So my Instagram somehow got all jacked up, and it's basically kicked me off for the next week until the 27th on Wednesday. And I've been able to get on one account, and then it went over to like all my accounts. So anyway, I kind of was like, okay, not the end of the world, just not going to have this to distract myself anymore. So I've kind of like ditched that naturally. However, the last 2 days, every morning when I woke up, I was like, I have to go for a walk in nature. Like I have to get an hour-long nature walk in. And then throughout my day, I've been taking breaks of just this like inner calling of needing to go outside in the sun, in the grass, and just like ground down like a couple times a day. And I didn't even realize that. But to me, that definitely just shows kind of my sensitivity on an energetic standpoint of, kind of that like intuitive nature of understanding that, oh, we aren't an air sign. You now need to really ground down.
Exactly. Oh, that's so beautiful. Yeah. You totally just followed your intuition and knew. So yeah.
So interesting. I love that. So on a personal level with you, I would love to kind of understand, obviously we spoke, on a career standpoint in 2016 with your Saturn return and kind of adjusting, but what other ways on a personal level has astrology and the way you kind of work with the charts really enhanced your own self?
Oh my gosh, everything. I mean, it helps me to know who I am, and there's so much within the chart. Okay, so there's 9 planets. And so within every single planet, it represents something for you. Let's go to the moon, for example. So the moon and the rising and the sun are they're known as the big 3. And these are things that represent big, huge parts of our personality. And so when so I'm a Taurus sun, and I always knew that. And I was like, yes, I can totally be stubborn. Yes, like I love the earth. Yes, I love chocolate. I love all of the indulgent things. I love nice things, like I care about my home. I care about music and art, like all of the things that Taurus is. And then, but I was like, okay, but that's it, And then once I learned my moon, which is Gemini, oh my gosh, that was the biggest game changer for me, because Gemini is about trying out every single thing. It's so curious. And my whole life, I wanted to do a million different things. It took me 6 years to graduate college because I was like trying out so many different things. I went to, I think like 5 different schools at one point, like so many different places. Like I actually was raised Mormon, and I got kicked out of the Mormon college that I went to for being like a quote unquote bad student, not bad student, but like breaking their rules or whatever. And Gemini is also a little bit rebellious. It's similar to Aquarius, where it has this like Joker, this kind of like mischievous nature to it. But it really it's because it has this childlike youth to it. And it kind of has a magic to it, because it's like, let's just have fun and play and talk and create. And once I learned that, I was like, oh my gosh. And it also is the messenger. And my degree in college was journalism. And it its shadow is that there's so much duality that sometimes it wants one thing, but it acts in a different way. And when I learned that about myself, when I was like, this is what the moon is your emotions and your needs and what you know, where you go to when you're stressed, which like I can get a lot of anxiety or I can kind of be going back and forth. And when I learned that, that solidified so much for me that it gave me so much validation. And I was like, it's okay. You know, it's okay that I've tried on so many different jobs or I've lived so many different lives. Like I feel like I've been a million different people. And like that's what Gemini is supposed to do. So it actually told me that I was on the right path. So that was really amazing. And then, you know, my rising sign is Leo, and that was really, really helpful for me to know also because my whole life I was so into music and dancing and creativity and acting and just performing in any sense. And I always kind of wondered, like, was I supposed to do something more with that? Or how was I supposed to do that? And now I kind of have different ways that I still infuse that. Like a big part of Leo is being a leader, which is part of what gave me confidence to create Cosmic Earth Collective and to have a business of my own and to work with people one-on-one because I know that I'm supposed to step into leadership. And, you know, I also sing and I grew up playing the piano. And so there's all of these elements that it's kind of this reminder of like, hey, you were given these talents. So why not use them and why not use your gifts? And it also can show you some of the really difficult things too. Like my Pluto is in my fourth house. The Pluto is about death and rebirth and transformation. And being in the fourth house shows that it would probably be through your family that you would have some type of experience that felt really like you were dying, you know? And I definitely did when I was a teenager. I actually tried to kill myself when I was like 15 because of a lot of family type issues. And that is just, you know, a really deep example of that we can kind of see where we're going to have a lot of these very transformative things happen. And you can pinpoint and look back and see, oh, okay, this is what was happening in the sky at this time. This is how my personal energy manifested it. Like I like to think that the cosmos and us, like before we're born and all of that, that we create almost like a script, but it's not actually the lines yet and the scenes yet. We just say, okay, at this point in the life, there's the energy for this, and then there's going to be this type of thing that could happen, and this might happen, and maybe you'll meet someone here, and maybe you'll get married here, maybe you'll get a divorce here, maybe you'll get your job here. But then we are the ones that go in and write it. And so when we know what energy we're in, it can help us so much to make better decisions and have happier outcomes. And even if it's not happier outcomes, at least we can just understand and feel so much comfort with that.
Absolutely. And it's funny too, you know, in reading your charts, you feel just so validated. And that's such a perfect example. However, to actually be actively, consciously aware of what's happening, it just makes so much sense the way you can really just work, just cultivate more of that energy and probably get to where you're going that much faster as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So cool. So I don't remember the specific placements, but just as another example, when we were talking earlier, we were talking about my moon is in Sagittarius, which is in the sixth house. And then just with work with health and wellness and daily routine and things like that. And I was telling you the story of how when my husband got sick a few years ago, that was really kind of the pivotal moment in my career of really taking that holistic point of view with nutrition, and then just in really being the one to actively feel the need to heal him. And then in return, that's now really just brought about my most recent line of work with really stepping into my purpose of healing others and the collective. But from an astrological standpoint, I would love to know if you kind of remember. I just want to make note of what placements kind of put that picture into reality, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So your moon is in the sixth house. So the moon, again, is our needs, it's our emotions, it's just what we feel, also part of like what we should just be doing naturally. And so yours is in, first of all, Sagittarius, and Sagittarius is about learning, it's higher learning, it's also travel, you know, it's about higher spirituality. It's kind of about going the distance in any area of your life. So you have this deep need to go the distance, you know, whether that's in making money or in learning more or, you know, taking more courses. You're always going to be a very curious person, but like yearning for this higher knowledge. And so having that there by nature makes you someone that has this ability to study things, right? And then your moon is placed in the sixth house, which represents health and nutrition and, activity, fitness, day-to-day routines. It's kind of like, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis? And then we looked at your seventh house, and your seventh house is that of partnerships and marriage and one-on-one relationships, but it's very, very tied to marriage and that person that you have like a contract with, it's your intimate relationships. And so for you, you have the planet Uranus there, and Uranus represents lightning bolt change. It's kind of like a spontaneous, random, rapid thing happens. And it can be that something happens in just like a flash, or something is also taken away in a flash, And then right next to that is the planet Neptune, which is, there's two main energies to Neptune. One is that it makes things very, very spiritual. And this kind of like, like cue the angels coming in, or it can be the shadow of it, and not even really shadow, but just a reality of it, is that it can be very hazy and confusing, or, an undiagnosis, or something that people don't really know what this is. And so, when you were telling me about your husband and how he got sick, it's funny because all of this lies in your house of partnership. So that energy of something just coming on suddenly and us not really knowing what it is would happen in either your relationship or happen to the person that you're in a relationship with.
Which is so cool. I mean, situation, not so much, but just the relation between it just brings it all to life so much. I just love it. I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah.
So
and it
cool.
was just crazy how you told me that he got his disease, or he got whatever, condition he has, so randomly, so out of nowhere, and that, it was undiagnosed. Like they still don't even really have a name for it. So that is classic Uranus and Neptune energy. So these two planets in your area of the relationships, and that it just, that's how it manifested. So it's like it could have manifested in many other ways too, but that is how it ended up. And it makes sense that then with your moon, your need for being in the sixth house then is like, okay, I'm going to learn more about this and take this in and go deeper in the health and wellness.
So cool. And I don't know too, with my Cancer rising, with that kind of like Cancerian energy of like the nurture, I would envision kind of has some to play in that as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so wild. I love it so much. For anyone who is, interested, what kind of readings do you do? Like, what's your typical work look like for that?
Yeah, so I do so many types of readings, but basically like soul purpose is really learning just about yourself. And then I do relationship readings. So you can compare yours and your significant other, or even like if you have a kid and you want to learn about you and your child, like I've done this for my mom and I, and it's so amazing,
Cool.
And a lot of times you'll see with different relationships that there's usually some type of past life connection that we can see in the birth chart too. And then I also do year ahead readings, so you can just look and see what's in store for you. And then there's another thing that's so cool, which depends on your birthday and where you spend your birthday. And this is called the solar return. So a lot of people actually don't know about this, but depending on where you spend your birthday, you're going to have a whole new energy for that year. So you'll still have your regular birth chart and like your regular, it's kind of like how your regular system works, right? But then it's as if we like put in a new system just for that year. So it's going to always have that underlying blueprint. It's like, how about this year we try it out here? So depending on where you spend your birthday is what will affect all of that. So that's called the solar return, and that's really, really cool. You can even think where you spend your birthday upon, depending on looking ahead and seeing what kind of energy do I want to be in this year.
And by where you spend your birthday, you mean like actually physically location?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Wow. That is so cool. Right? Oh my gosh. So glad my birthday is coming up in April. That would be so fun to know. I love that. That's so cool. Amazing. Well, something else that we did today that is so intriguing and so unique, and I just think can like benefit so many people, is Psych-K. So what exactly is Psych-K?
Yeah, so Psych-K is this incredible process where we combine the conscious mind and the subconscious mind to basically look and see what your subconscious mind really believes. And we use this through muscle testing. We'll test out a statement, like for a lot of people, kind of an underlying statement is, I am enough. A lot of people don't really think that they're enough or they're not valuable or whatever. And so we'll test that and we'll muscle test and we'll be able to see, does your subconscious mind actually believe this? And the reason that we use muscle testing is because muscle testing is the only way that we can get in touch with the subconscious. When you get sick, that is your body telling you through your subconscious, hey, you need to drink more water, you need to rest, or like stop whatever it is that you're doing that's making you sick. So that's our subconscious. And so that's why we, again, use that muscle testing. And so through this, we use a variety of kinesthetic movements. So whether it's like moving your eyes or crossing your legs or crossing your hands, and doing those different movements allows your neurons to rapid fire while you're saying or thinking this new statement. And it brings it into your subconscious mind. So it's kind of like it's an app that downloads into your mind and that you now have it in your subconscious. And then you can move forward with this new belief. It's all about our subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind is 95% of your brain and your conscious mind is only 5%. So if you can even think about that, like how crazy that is that we're only functioning from 5% of our brain.
That statistic trips me up every time I hear it.
Yeah, that the rest is literally just either what we are programmed to do, what we're conditioned to do, what we do habitually, where it's like, okay, this morning I do this. And it really helps you to set in stone new habits, new ways of thinking, new way of believing. The way that I got into it was because, and this was kind of a part of my nutrition and health story, was that I was binge eating all of the time. And it would happen when I was stressed out or just really kind of whenever. And I would like binge eat and then I would restrict. And it was just this vicious cycle. And I remember I was so desperate and I went to one of my friends who was a therapist and she was like, well, I'm trying this thing, Psych-K. Do you want to do it with me? And we did it. And literally that was the only thing. And I had been to therapy. I had tried tapping. I had tried so many things. Psych-K is like tapping on steroids, because it is just like, it's permanent. It's in there, and the beautiful thing about it too, is that once you start doing it, your subconscious is like, okay, now I'm enough, but like, do I think that I'm lovable? Do I think that I'm worthy? Do I, love myself? Do I, all of these things where it's like this beautiful unraveling of this other part of you that's kind of hidden that you now have access to and that you can then go in and consciously change.
So cool. We did a quick little trial of it, I guess. How often or long, like how often would you do it, like with your binge eating, to fully feel completely cleared?
Oh, one time.
Okay. So it is just the one time.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's what's so magical about it is that, what we did is we traced it back to, it depends on like how deep you want to go. If you want to make it like a little bit more therapy session where it's like, let's talk about where did this come from? Did it start from family? Did it start from outside, societal stuff? You can go into that. Or it can really be a quick thing of like, I eat what's good for me and I eat only when I'm hungry. You come up with some type of statement that helps in that sense. But yeah, for me, it was just the one time. And I think that there were a couple other things where I was like, and I want to, stop eating so much sugar, or I want to allow myself to be able to eat gluten and dairy again because I had an intolerance, and I was able to actually clear that too, which is just astonishing, and because with the health stuff, a lot of it is actually within our subconscious mind because we attach ourselves to identifying with a condition or a disease or something, and then that becomes our identity. And so if we can rewire and reprogram that subconscious mind of thinking that we're actually just still clear of these things, then it changes our present day reality.
So cool. It's so amazing. And I just love to me, it just feels so simple. We make things so in the past, I feel like a lot of things have just been so convoluted and just made so complicated in our society. But like Psych-K is such a perfect example of it can be simple, it can be quick, and it's effective.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That is so cool. Our bodies and minds are they blow me away in energy. And yeah, it's absolutely insane. Well, this conversation was so fun. You are such just a wealth of so much information and truly just spreading so much magic around. I love it. For anyone who's interested in connecting with you further, where can people find you?
Yeah, I'm very active on Instagram. So you can find me there at Natalie Holbrook Wellness, or you can visit my website, also natalieholbrookwellness.com, and join one of our Cosmic Earth Collective circles that happens every single month. And that's a really fun way to get a taste of all of this magic together. And also I do one-on-one coaching and lots of fun offerings.
When is February's Cosmic Earth?
February's will be on February 2nd. So it's
Okay.
always coinciding numbers or repeating numbers. So it'll be 2-2. And then the next will be 3-3, and then it'll be 4-4, 5-5. So you can just kind of know that it will always be the numbers that are repeating.
Cool. So easy. That makes it easy to track as well.
Yeah.
So fun. Well, before we close out today, I do like to end with some loving your own soul questions, which are just some questions that I kind of intuitively come up with before our conversation so that everyone can get to know you maybe a little bit better or a little bit differently. What was something that you loved to do as a child?
Ooh, when I was little, I used to always write plays.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Would you then act them out or get a group of people together and go forward with it?
I would write plays, and I would so I'm the oldest. I have 2 younger sisters, and then I was one of the older kids in the neighborhood. So I was like the director. That is classic Leo rising, everyone. And my Mars is Capricorn, so I get very excited to be the boss.
That is so fun. I love that so much.
And my Gemini moon, it was that's the amazing thing of kids, you're just living it out. You're living your birth chart out as a kid, because you're not oh my God, what are they going to think of me? Or I'm not going to make enough money. So you're just being authentic. Yeah. So
totally.
That was one of my favorite things, absolutely, as a kid.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. I love that. That just shows your inner creativity as well.
I feel like I still get to do a little bit of it now with Cosmic Earth Collective, actually, with the meditations that I write. So
true.
Taking people on that guided journey.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Wait, and your meditations are so powerful, especially the last one, which was with Capricorn, and just everything that we did there. I mean, just with connecting backwards and forwards, and that just complete soul ancestral healing was absolutely incredible.
Yay, thank you. I feel like they're getting better with each season. Aquarius is going to be really fun, by the way. And Pisces, for the people listening to this, will also be very probably out of this world, because both Pisces and Aquarius are out of this world energy.
Cool. So fun. So much to look forward to. What season do you feel most connected or maybe at peace during?
Summer has always been my favorite. And I think summer is when I love feeling alive. I love feeling really vibrant, and I love hot weather. So I think summer would be for me. My ruling planet, if you look at what sign your rising sign is, and you look at the ruler of that planet, the ruler of that sign, that's called your ruling planet. So for you, yours is the moon, since you're a Cancer rising, and mine is the sun, since I'm a Leo rising.
Cool. Oh my gosh, interesting. I feel so connected to the moon.
Totally. Yeah.
That makes so much sense.
I love solar energy.
Yeah. So we were talking about food and herbs and all the things. Do you have a current favorite, whether beverage or tincture or even just herb, that you're working with currently?
I've been working with something called marshmallow a lot. And marshmallow, because I had COVID over the holidays, and marshmallow is so good for your throat, and for it gets very thick, and it kind of has this almost syrupy type consistency to it. And so for anyone, during this time that we're in right now of getting out of winter and going into spring, it's really good no matter where you live, because we still want to follow the seasons, and that we can feel this is actually it's kind of bringing, what's the word? I guess it's just bringing a little bit of juiciness almost to your throat and to your full body. It's helping to lubricate really everything, and it's really good for the throat chakra. So as I've been kind of stepping into speaking a lot more, doing my events and doing more podcasts, doing more things where I'm kind of out there, I'm using that to help my throat and my voice.
Cool. I was just thinking of the throat chakra when you said that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fun. That has actually popped up. This is like the third time that marshmallow has come up. So
No way.
definitely, yeah,
Try it. Yeah.
not a coincidence for sure. If you could go maybe like backwards to maybe your 20 something year old self or just even a past self from where we are right now, is there anything that you know right now that you wish you knew then?
Oh my gosh, so many things, like everything. I mean, I think that the biggest thing would be to tell myself that, like, to just keep being you know, and to not really care about any of the external stuff, and to more so tap into the inner self. And that doesn't mean this like tap into the inner self of like sitting and meditating every day at all. It's more so of like, do what sets your soul on fire. Do what is your fuck yes, you know, do what makes you so excited and happy. And it doesn't even matter if you have other people to do it with, you know, to just like listen to yourself and to follow your own voice, because that voice that you have inside of you is there for a reason. That's kind of like your inner God, your inner goddess. That is what's leading you. And to not worry about what other people think or what people say, but to just, you know, do you. And that is what leads you to happiness.
Mm, that was beautiful. The phrase "do you" is one of my absolute favorites.
Yeah,
It's so good.
I always think of like, I don't know if this was like a meme or like if Drake said this or something, where it's just like, do you, boo?
I love that. Do you have a favorite podcast or inspirational person or a teacher or just anything or anyone that you're maybe following along with right now?
I would say that right now, you know, and I've always loved Gabby Bernstein, but I've just been doing one of her 21-day manifestation challenges. And she's just so wonderful. You know, I think that she really represents a person who is really in alignment with themselves, and she's no BS. And I also really respect her because she's a businesswoman, but she's brought in the spirituality into business and done it in a way that's not spiritual bypassing, and that's not, you know, being like, here's my program and blah 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 blah, blah. Like, it's just, it seems real. And she tells you things too. She's like, I'm gonna sell this because I have to also make money. You know, she's really real with things, but her magic and her medicine is so tangible, you know. And the thing that she does, she's not saying, come to me for all of this. She's like, this is all within you. I'm just here to help guide you to unlock it, because it is really important for us to have other people who are our mentors and who help us to unlock these things. Because, you know, yes, it is all within you, but it's really nice to have someone else who's kind of holding that space for you, especially if you're someone who holds space for other people, you know, because then at the end of the day, you're like depleted. So you really need to have that beautiful exchange. Yeah.
Yeah, it's that common dance for sure. And what I love about her as well, and what you just said right there, is, you know, it's about having that person who can help you kind of guide you to you, but then who also isn't a crutch that then you're always leaning on them, because it's about you finding it.
Yeah.
Yeah. To that point, wonderful segue to close. But when did your exploration to diving deeper into your own soul first begin? And how has it evolved since then?
My goodness. I feel like I've had so many spiritual like iterations, you know, like if I were to write a memoir, it'd be like volume like 39 because I was raised very religious. And so I always had a connection to God, but there were like different versions of it, right? And I would say that what really put me onto this specific path though was probably in 2017 was when I left working in tech. I was working in tech in San Francisco. I broke up with someone that I loved very, very much, but knew in my heart that it wasn't right for us, even to the extent that I actually got pregnant and had a miscarriage. And it was this kind of like big sign from the universe that was like, either you can be with this person and live this life, or do you want to do something different? And I was like, I have to take the different path, you know? And so that was this huge kind of initiation where I feel like I fully surrendered because things couldn't get crazier. I couldn't be more sad and more confused. And it was at that point that I was like, I'm just going to let go and trust. And it was then after that that I moved to LA. And it's not like all of a sudden I moved to LA and things were peachy. It was like, you're going to be alone and you're going to be lonely and you're going to feel all of these things. And it was actually being alone. That's what opened everything up for me, because I realized that we're never alone. And that, you know, I can get emotional talking about this because we're never alone. You have this divine within you. You have God within you. You have spirit guides. You have, and then it gets to the point where you have other people who are also on this path. And the more that you are authentic and true to yourself, and that you know that you're never alone, the more that you attract that community in. And it's really fun to have them, but it's also really fun to be by yourself and to have this spiritual journey that either you can choose to share with others, or that it can be this really beautiful, sacred thing for you.
I love that. I think a lot of people, I know I needed to hear that as well. Just, you know, you can choose to share it with others, or it can just be for you. Amazing. Yeah. Well, you are such a beautiful soul. This was so much fun. Thank you for holding space together on the podcast. I so appreciate it.
Absolutely. I love this so much. Thank you, Britt.
Such an incredible episode. Thank you to all of you for tuning in. Thank you, Natalie, for holding space together, sharing your magic and your gifts with the world. We are truly so blessed. There is so much to be grateful for, and I am grateful for all of you who continue to follow my journey and learn something new from all of these incredible guests that we have on the podcast. If you feel called to leave a rating and review, definitely feel free. I would be absolutely honored to see your feedback and understand what you think about the podcast. But in exchange for your rating and review, I would love to send you a special gift in gratitude and thanks. So all you have to do is head over to Apple Podcasts, leave a rating and review, screenshot it, send me a DM over on Instagram for proof, and in exchange, I will send you a special gift. Thank you all so much for tuning in here again today, and I look forward to continuing the journey with you again soon.